Thank you especially to the panelists here today. We'll get to introductions in just a moment. First, I'll introduce myself. My name's Allison Sextauer, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Rogue Valley Food System Network. We are an organization that has been working for the last decade to build an equitable, resilient, ecologically sound, and economically viable local food system here in Southern Oregon. For the past decade, our role has been to serve as a convener and a connector, ensuring that farmers, food banks, educators, health providers, and businesses are working together towards a shared vision of a thriving regional food network. In January, we released the updated Rogue Valley Food Assessment and Action Plan, a roadmap for access, economic vitality, and resilience. And we continue to meet monthly with partners across the region who are turning these goals into action every day. Today, we've invited those partners to share their perspective with you. Since learning that the pause and SNAP benefits might become a reality, these organizations have been working together on a coordinated response to the challenge and to ensure that we are able to fill the gap as much as possible here in the Rogue Valley to make sure people have access to the food they need. This community is no stranger to crisis. We saw empty grocery store shelves during COVID. We saw our neighbors rise from the ashes of the Alameda fire, cooking, feeding, and rebuilding together. Those efforts succeeded because they were built on years of relationships and collaborations, and today is no different. Right now, 23.6% of Josephine County households and 16.6% of Jackson County households rely on SNAP. Both counties face higher food insecurity rates than the rest of the state, 16% in Josephine County and 13.8% in Jackson County. Even before November 1st, food banks and pantries were seeing a 30% increase in attendance over last year, and in the past week, those numbers have climbed again as families brace for the loss of SNAP benefits. As of this morning, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that it is complying with the court's order and will fulfill its obligation to expend the full amount of SNAP contingency funds. It will utilize these funds to make partial payments for SNAP in November. The government says current contingency funds are not sufficient to cover full payments, and it is declining to use a discretionary fund that would make full November payments possible at this time. This is welcome news. It offers some relief and clarity for thousands of families who depend on those benefits, but it doesn't change the reality that our local systems are carrying an unprecedented load. We keep hearing that food banks are stretched thin, donations have dropped, staffing is short, and smaller rural pantries are struggling to stay open. Yet despite this, we are seeing something remarkable, that Rogue Valley residents, organizations, and businesses are rising to meet the moment. The donations of funds and food are increasing. Longstanding programs like Double Up Food Bucks are pivoting to respond, and new community-driven solutions are emerging across the region. In the spirit of this, the Rogue Valley Food System Network is also launching the Rogue Valley Good Food Fund, a new tool that will allow food banks and community partners to buy directly from local farmers. It continues the legacy of the local food purchasing agreement, which was canceled in early January, which brought more than $200,000 to local growers and helped deliver fresh produce and proteins to family in need. This fund allows us to keep our dollars local, supports farm viability, and gets healthy food to the people who need it most, from farm to food bank, one of many actions being taken right now. So today you're going to hear from several of the organizations that make up our regional food system, each a vital thread of the web of connection that keeps this valley strong. Together, we are not just feeding people, we are building the foundation for a local food system that ensures dignity, resiliency, and nourishment for all. At the end of today's briefing, we'll share resources for individuals seeking food assistance, as well as ways to contribute and volunteer, from donating to local food banks, to supporting the Rogue Valley Good Food Fund, to helping neighbors get food. As we enter this season of food and gratitude, let's remember that local resilience does begin with local response, with local relationships. So thank you all for being here, for helping share this story, and for standing together to feed our neighbors. And with that, I'll turn it over to David Weiland from Partners for Hunger Free Oregon, and then Kim Whitney with Oregon Department of Human Services to share a statewide perspective. David, if you'd like to come off of mute.
Thanks, Allison. Thanks for the invitation. I'm David Wheeland. I work with Partners for Hunger-Free Oregon. We work to address the root causes of hunger across the state. Just want to share some quick background on where we're at. So the federal government officially shut down October 1st. At that time, already more than 1 in 8 Oregonians, more than 1 in 6 children were experiencing food insecurity. That rate is higher in rural Oregon. It's higher for single mothers. It's higher for Black and Indigenous Oregonians. SNAP, our nation's biggest food safety net, is providing over $140 million a month in grocery store purchases to blunt the impact of that food insecurity in Oregon. But this weekend, we saw 750,000 Oregonians wondering how they'll make ends meet. This SNAP benefit delay is already hitting hardest in communities that were struggling to make ends meet. This problem is systemic, didn't start this weekend. Congress hasn't passed a budget, but here's the catch. As Allison said, Congress did allocate emergency funding for SNAP, knowing the devastating impact that interruption could cause, and federal courts agreed that this funding needs to be released. There's a lot that needs to happen before we'll see that money on Oregon Trail cards, but we know that it will be half of the month's benefits. We know that families are already struggling right now. We know that these responses will come several days to a week from now, but the need is right now. And even as that response takes time, it's the responses from local organizations and mutual aid groups across the state that we've been seeing making an impact today for families. I'm excited to hear more about that.
Thank you so much, David. Kim Whitney, please, from Oregon Department of Human Services.
Hello, and good late afternoon. I'm Kim Whitney. I'm a district manager for Oregon Department of Human Services, specifically in Jackson and Josephine County. And it has been quite a month as we've planned for all the contingencies of what may happen. And while we were hoping for the best outcomes, here we are in the beginning of November and finding that people don't have funds on their EBT cards to buy food. First of all, my gratitude for our community and what has been transpiring the last 2 weeks. I just cannot express the overwhelming desire of people to show up, whether it's bringing food to a food bank or volunteering, or how do we connect, or where are the hot meal sites. It is powerful and overwhelming, and it's going to be sorely needed in the time to come. As David mentioned, over 750,000 Oregonians rely on SNAP EBT cards to help put food on the table for their families. And we're entering the winter months, so gardens and things like that are also not readily available as they often are during the summertime. Our governor has directed ODHS to contribute an additional $5 million to help offset what's happening with the food banks. Again, that is just going to help get some food into the hands of people and help the overwhelmed food banks who are already seeing large numbers, as we already heard, coming in their doors this weekend. SNAP benefits have never been paused before. We've never had to figure this out collectively. Some states and vendors, including Oregon and our EBT vendor, our Oregon Trail cards, we don't currently have systems that are able to issue partial benefits, but we are working currently to figure out how to do that. So that work is already transpiring. We want to be prepared when the funding does arrive that we can get those benefits out. It is important to be aware that oftentimes, as soon as something hits the news, everybody expects kind of an instantaneous response. It will take some time for those funds to show up on the EBT cards, even once they're released federally. So I think it's important for folks to understand that, particularly getting how quickly information gets out on social media, some of which can be accurate and much of which is not. Some things for folks who are receiving SNAP currently should know is it is very important to keep your case current. Folks should continue with all things as they normally would to keep their benefits eligible, any renewals that are due. Our offices are open as they always are. The only difference is getting those funds to the EBT cards is what has paused. But our teams are working to keep everybody's accounts current so that as soon as those funds are available, that there's no delays in getting them directly out to people. As mentioned already, while the ruling has indicated that the administration must at least partially fund SNAP during the government shutdown, it is important that people realize that November benefits have not been issued yet. There has been some incorrect information getting out there indicating that funds have been released. That has not transpired. Once it does happen, as I mentioned previously, people may not see that November benefit right away. And because the administration is only partially funding SNAP benefits for now, we're not exactly sure how all of that is going to look. It is being worked through. We do hope that we will be able to issue the full benefits once the shutdown ends. But in the meantime, we are working with what is known now, which is that there will be a partial payment or partial funding transpiring. We also want to encourage people to be alert for scams. Unfortunately, during times like this, we also see bad actors showing up in ways that can cause further harm to the people who are already receiving enough harm as it is. So be alert for scams. ODHS will never call and ask people for information about your PIN. We will never ask for information about an EBT balance. And we strongly recommend that people go to the ODHS website and use that system to check and verify all information. We're hearing about links in social media that are taking people to click on things that are telling them, click here to get your SNAP benefits. Please do not use those and encourage people to not use those. Those are typically scams, cannot be relied upon, and unfortunately can cause people further harm. We know that the situation is stressful. Our teams here in Jackson and Josephine County are working with our food network to try and have current information available within our offices when folks show up to help be a part of the information system of getting accurate information about what alternate sources of food are available within Jackson and Josephine County. And most of all, just to show up in understanding and empathy with so many people that are currently worried right now about how they're going to feed themselves and their families. And I thank everyone for the grace and kindness that has been shown to our organization and realizing that we're just the messenger of a message we didn't want to have to deliver. But doing it in partnership with so many is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Next, we're going to hear from a few of our food access and emergency response providers. We'll start with Josephine C., the Executive Director with Josephine County Food Bank. Give me 1 second, Josephine. I'm going to bring you up to Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Allison. Good afternoon. My name is Josephine C., and I am the Executive Director of the Josephine County Food Bank. The Josephine County Food Bank is the regional food bank for Josephine County, which means that we oversee the large-scale collection and distribution of emergency food to people in need all across Josephine County. We do this through a network of food pantries and meal sites that get the food that we collect directly onto the tables of families in need. And last year, our network distributed over 2.8 million pounds of food across Josephine County. And even then, it wasn't enough. Across Oregon, we are seeing an unprecedented surge in hunger. Visits to food assistance sites across the state have increased by 50% compared to just 2 years ago. And earlier this year, between cuts to food streams and emergency purchasing programs, that made it nearly impossible for food banks like ours to keep up. And that was before this current crisis. Now, with the pause on SNAP benefits, our community is scared. In Josephine County alone, more than 25,000 residents rely on SNAP to put food on the table. These are seniors, these are children, these are people with disabilities and working families that are already stretched too thin. Some of our local pantries are reporting double the number of people in line, and they simply don't have enough food to serve everyone. One of our largest pantries ran out of food last week and had to turn people away. For too many of our families, this is their first time standing in a pantry line. And you can only imagine how terrifying it feels not knowing where your next meal will come from, or how you'll tell your kids, or how you'll feed your kids or your aging parents. But this is the reality of what our community is facing right now. The silver lining is that this very difficult moment has really brought our community together in absolutely amazing ways. Between funders, businessers, and neighbors, they've rallied to provide food and funding. And this week now in our warehouse, we have a very large order of food so that hopefully no one is turned away from bare shelves. And the shipment of food is already being distributed throughout our network. In terms of response, locally, several of our food pantries have extended their hours past 5 p.m. to better serve working families. And we personally have added an additional mobile pantry distribution on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the YMCA parking lot. Our network is nimble, they're responsive, and they're incredibly dedicated to the people that we serve. So new resources and solutions are being identified every day. On top of that, organizations across the region are collaborating daily, sharing resources, staff, and creative ideas to ensure that food keeps moving to where it's needed the most. You will hear from several of them shortly, but I would really like to take a second to thank one specific organization who has just done so much locally. Blazing Monkeys is a food truck who's been offering free food to children. This Wednesday, they'll be partnering with All Care on a spaghetti feed. Several of our local grocery partners have also been amazing with their community response. And despite all of this crisis and chaos, what we are seeing is incredible innovation and compassion and collaboration. I have never been so proud of our community. So as we've heard, there is some good news. SNAP is going to be partially funded in November, and our network, the Oregon Food Bank Network, has been issued $5 million in emergency food purchasing. But the reality is that there is no clear timeline for when that support is going to directly reach families. Once you account for purchasing, repacking, distribution, we could be waiting weeks, and our families can't wait that long. So I have some very clear calls to action for our community. The first is, if you can, please donate food or funds. Funds go significantly further than food, but if you can donate food, our local pantries need that now. Also, volunteer. Our pantry network is extending their hours. They're adding additional distributions. Please connect with us or connect with some of our pantries locally to see how you can offer your support. Outside of that, please continue to share information. I was just going to encourage everyone to both follow us and ODHS on social media so that they stay up to date with the most recent information. SNAP recipients especially should follow ODHS so that you receive their guidelines and their updates. Across Josephine and Jackson County, our network feeds roughly 1 in 5 people. But with this new disruption, the SNAP crisis, the numbers are rising. I would really like to reiterate that someone you know and care about is likely struggling with hunger right now, and to please just help us remind them that they are not alone. Food is here. Please look to our website for a list of all the food pantries and meal sites available in Josephine County. Thank you.
Josephine, thank you so much for all your tireless work out there. Ooh, everyone take a breath. Kelly Battaglia is next with Access, going to share some of the work they're doing in the Josephine or the Jackson County side of things. Kelly, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. And so I'm Kelly Battaglia. I'm the Chief Advancement Officer and the acting interim co-executive director for Access. Thank you, Josephine, for that really compelling story of what you're experiencing in Josephine County. Jackson County, we're the regional food bank for the county, as well as the community action agency for Jackson County. We have about 34 pantry sites throughout the county. We're in all areas, some very rural areas, and distribute 4.5 million pounds of food every year. Like other food banks nationally and here locally, we've seen a significant increase in pantry visits. We had already seen a 30-ish% increase, and we are seeing that double in some of our food pantries, with lines forming of 80 plus cars waiting for the pantry to open at our busiest food pantry site. We rely on an army of volunteers. We have about 600 volunteers in our food program to help operate those pantries. Before this all happened, we were already struggling and have had to downsize the paid number of staff in our food bank. So we downsized from 12 paid FTE to 10, and are still, struggling to cover a funding deficit. So It's incredibly challenging. And in talking with Oregon Food Bank, they're seeing that same thing across the state. So trying to do more with less. And now this kind of the perfect storm on top of that. Typically, unless we have a grant that specifically allows for us to purchase food, it takes everything we've got from a grant and donation perspective just to operate the food bank, just to keep the staff, keep the lights on, keep that food moving to our pantry network. So we've had funders come in, tour the food bank and say, oh my gosh, you all need fresh produce. Oh my gosh, those shelves are bare. And so again, that was before. And so now we've had an overwhelming response from our corporate partners, from our donors. We've seen first-time donors that are coming in to support the organization, and so that's been heartening for sure. I mean, it's really inspiring when you have so many people reaching out and saying, "How can we help?" And yet, we want to make sure that we are positioned such that we don't have to make the hard choices of, closing while you have people still in line, or having to reduce the amount of food we're able to give each household. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we can continue to meet the need. So having forums like this to brainstorm solutions and come together as a network, I think is incredibly important. We've got a pretty phenomenal community and sense of community here. So we're grateful for all of you and this, the network and the partnerships and like Josephine said, I mean, to get involved, reach out, funds are important. Food is important. We're able to provide 3 meals for every dollar donated. So it's very high impact. The infusion of funding from the state will be really important during this difficult time. So your continued support, continuing to, whether it's, inform your neighbors that we're here, here's the resource, how do you want to get involved, let them know we're here, and writing legislators, letting them know the importance of supporting food banks and that we're the front line that, is filling the gap every day, but in particular nowadays. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So we just heard from Access and Josephine County Food Bank, who are 2 of the partners in Jackson and Josephine County who serve as part of the Oregon Food Bank Network. We also have a handful, many folks who are serving to increase food access and reduce food insecurity issues who are not connected to the food network. So we're going to hear from some folks who are part of the local food system of ensuring access to healthy food and tying in pieces of economic resilience for the long haul. So first we have Tanya Pineda from Rogue Food Unites joining us today.
Thank you all for attending this briefing on the local impacts of the current federal shutdown, particularly concerning the pause in SNAP benefits and the escalating food access crisis in our communities. As mentioned, my name is Tanya Pineda. I'm the outreach manager at Rogue Food Unites. As an organization born from the 2020 wildfires, we all witnessed firsthand that natural disasters and the devastation this can inflict on our community. However, I never imagined we'd be here today discussing the impacts of a man-made disaster, yet we're all here. Rogue Food Unites is committed to supporting those in need, no matter the circumstances. 5 years ago, that meant providing our community with provision boxes and hot meals. Today, that means sharing resources and operating our no-cost, no-barrier farmers markets, where we provide free organic produce to our community at no cost, no barrier. The idea of these is to remove all obstacles for food access for our community during these challenging times. A few weeks ago, we noticed a decline in our farmers market attendance, and we discussed ways to increase awareness. However, since the federal government shut down on October 1st, our market numbers have surged. We've gone from 170 families per market to serving 236 in a single market. That significant jumps of 66 families per in just a few weeks. These are families who are now directly feeling the impact of the shutdown's effects, and are worried about how they'll be feeding their loved ones. At our markets, our patrons frequently ask us if our services will continue based on the federal cuts and the shutdown. And our answer continues to always be yes. We will continue to show up for our community as we did 5 years ago from the ashes of the Almeda and Obichain wildfire. We know our community needed us then, and they need us more now. The recent pause in SNAP benefits they have deepened an already critical food access crisis. Families who rely on these supports are now facing empty shelves and impossible choices. At our markets, we've seen the impacts firsthand. More families are arriving, more questions are being asked at how they'll be getting through the week, and we're seeing more urgency in every conversation. This isn't just about a temporary hardship. It's about how fragile our food systems really are, and we need to invest in a sustainable and community solutions. Rogue Food Unites is committed to supporting our communities and building a more resilient community as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Next up, we have Carrie Juchow from Josephine County Farm Collective. Carrie, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to share today. I'm Carrie Jushaw, the Executive Director of the Josephine County Farm Collective. The Farm Collective is a registered 501c3 nonprofit food hub with a mission to connect community to the fresh and nutritious foods grown by small and local producers. As a food hub, we support both the consumer and the producer side of the table while providing infrastructure, distribution services, and shared resources. Together, we support about 40 small producers that offer a tremendous food resource. In addition to providing support for our producers, the Farm Collective donates over 6,000 pounds annually of fresh, nutritious perishables that are locally grown to the Josephine County Food Bank and its 13 food pantries, in addition to other nonprofit organizations like Project Youth Plus, and through our kids farmers markets at Boys and Girls Clubs, spreading from Talent in Phoenix to Kirby in the Illinois Valley. At those kids farmers markets, we support and feed families between like 50 and 250 families at each one of those markets. One of our highest in demand services is home delivery. Due to the geographic sprawl of Josephine County, many residents are isolated and living in rural areas without transportation to access fresh produce. And in some cases, the closest grocery store is an hour or more round trip. So primarily, these residents are seniors, veterans, disabled, and working families with children. While we have a farm stand open year-round in Grants Pass, our online marketplace offers tremendous access and flexibility to meet everyone's dietary needs, frequency of food, the volume of food, and for each household, thereby reducing the potential food waste. And then working collaboratively with our community partners, 3 of which are health centers, we're truly creating a shift towards improved community health. At this time, however, we need funding to continue our weekly emergency food boxes, as that funding has been cut from our budget. In response to delayed or reduced SNAP benefits, we are now offering emergency double-up food bucks, which you'll hear a bit more about from Rachel in a few minutes, effective November 1st at our farm stand on Tuesdays from 3 to 6 p.m. So shoppers with an Oregon Trail card may spend up to $20 on fresh produce and receive an additional 50% off all protein, regardless of whether or not they have a SNAP balance available. Shoppers should bring their Oregon Trail card with them when they pick up their order. Our farm stand is located at 485 Daly Lane in Grants Pass. You can order ahead to secure limited inventory items through our online marketplace on our website, farmcollective.org. Orders can be placed between Sunday at 6 a.m. and Wednesday 6 a.m. for pickup the following week. Through the end of November, we can also accept WIC and Senior Farm Direct Nutrition vouchers. Those do not expire until November 20th. And we are also accepting donations of shelf and pantry foods for the Josephine County Food Bank. Those can be dropped off at our farm stand Tuesday afternoons. We will forward them on to the food bank for distribution. So I would like to support, if you'd like to support our work, please contribute to the Rogue Valley Community Food Fund, where we make a difference when we work together. Thank you.
Carrie, thank you so much. For our next few speakers, we have, we're moving into some of the economics. Ann Carter's with us with Medford Food Co-op, and then we'll hear about a couple of incentive programs that support participants and being able to amplify their spending. Ann Carter with the Medford Food Co-op.
Hi, thanks, Allison. As most of you know, SNAP is a solid investment in our local community and an efficient, effective program for participants. Every dollar in SNAP benefits generates at least $1.50 in local economic activity. These dollars keep grocery stores open, help keep food prices lower for everybody, generate income for local farmers, create jobs, and free up dollars in lower income households to spend on other goods and services. Here at Medford Food Co-op, we've seen consistent usage of SNAP in the last few years, along with steadily increasing usage of the Double Up Food Bucks program. Double Up Food Bucks provides a 1-to-1 match on SNAP purchases of fresh produce up to $20 per day. Year to date, the co-op has tendered an average of $38,000 worth of SNAP transactions per month, with an additional $6,700 worth of Double Up Food Bucks redeemed monthly. Annually, these food benefits will add up to more than $535,000 a year and make a significant impact on food access in the Rogue Valley. Without SNAP, our local economy will lose that $500,000, and that just accounts for SNAP dollars here at Medford Food Co-op. That's $500,000 fewer to support local farms and food businesses, and $500,000 fewer dollars to fill hungry bellies. When the Oregon Hunger Task Force was created in 1989, the state legislature declared that all persons have the right to be free from hunger. Here at Medford Food Co-op, we also believe that food access is a fundamental human right. So we're taking several steps to help alleviate hunger in our community in the coming weeks, including advocacy, education, fundraising, and free hot soup for folks in need. The most vulnerable members of our community need our support right now. And the message that we are putting out throughout our community, and particularly to our customers and shoppers, is if you are able to help, please consider donating to a local food bank and advocating for everyone's right to be free from hunger by contacting your legislators. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ann. Those economic impacts are pretty profound when you think about all the grocery stores across our region. Next, we have Rachel Ward with Farmers Market Fund, who is going to share about the Double Up Food Bucks program and other work she's been doing to make those programs available.
Thank you, Allison. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon / early evening. My name is Rachel Ward. I'm the Executive Director of Farmers Market Fund. We are a statewide nonprofit organization that funds and administers the Double Up Food Bucks program. And Carrie and Ann did such a good job of teeing it up for me and explaining what it is. So thank you. But I will do one more quick overview. So Double Up Food Bucks is a nutrition incentive program. It matches the value of SNAP benefits for the purchase of fresh, locally grown fruits and veggies at over 100 farmers markets and farm stands across the state. We have pivoted the program just in a week as we heard that SNAP benefits would not be distributed or delayed into November, trying to think about how we could raise the incentive ratio. So right now it's a dollar for dollar match up to $20. We've raised that ratio to say that folks only need to have $1 on their card in order to get a $20 match. We have also found a way to self-fund for folks who do not have a balance at all on their card to still receive $20 in Double Up Food Bucks. So it's a great way for folks to get a lot of fresh produce, which we know can be sometimes harder to find in the local pantries or harder to spend your funds on when you're trying to stock up on shelf-stable goods. And it also supports the local farmers and the local economy. So just in Jackson and Josephine County, there was over $40 million worth of SNAP benefits that was distributed in a year. So that breaks down to like $3.3 million a month in SNAP that's getting spent out in the community that will not be there in November or in a limited capacity. And so we have great economic buying power when we buy local. It's supporting those local farmers. That economic impact grows with the farmers spending funds in their local communities. And it supports small businesses as well. So we're really happy to offer this emergency Double Up Food Bucks program at least through the end of November or until the full amount of SNAP benefits have been renewed or issued onto people's cards. So even with partial payments, we will continue to offer the program because we know that there will be a gap that folks will need support with. And as I mentioned, there's 3 farm stands in Jackson and Josephine that offer this program. That's the Josephine County Farm Collective that Carrie talked about, Fry Family Farm, which is open every day, Whistling Duck Farm Store, which is located in the Applegate Valley, and then 3 farmers markets that will also offer this program. So the Rogue Valley Growers and Crafters markets, both the Ashland and the Medford markets, and the Grants Pass Growers Market as well. So encourage folks to go to doubleuporegon.org to find out more information. We also have a list of all the sites that are offering the program and how to use the program, and really hope that folks can help to spread the word so that this can be highly utilized and that we can continue to support our local farmers and our local economy in this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Do you have a sense, are all of these places that if they do have the protein bucks match, are they also honoring the protein bucks? Do we know that?
I don't know for sure since that's not a program that we fund. It's kind of up to
The
the
market.
individual market. Yep.
Right. So for partners who are listening, the Protein Bucks is a program that's been supported through our coordinated care organizations that matches an additional $10 to the $20 that's available normally. So ask at those places if they still have the Protein Bucks. It can give an added boost for much needed protein, eggs, meat, and nuts. Next up, we have Autumn Chadboard, the WIC Program Manager of Jackson County Health and Human Services. Welcome, Autumn. Thanks so much for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Allison. My name is Autumn Chadbourne, and I manage the Jackson County WIC program. I am going to briefly touch on how the lapse in SNAP has impacted the young families that we serve at Jackson County WIC. As many of you may know, WIC is a public health supplemental nutrition program. We support pregnant and postpartum women, infants, and children up to 5 years of age. As a supplemental nutrition program, we provide healthy foods, nutrition education, breastfeeding support, and referrals to different community organizations. The foods that we provide through WIC are designed to support critical periods of growth and development. We provide specific foods like milk, eggs, fruits and vegetables, foods that are rich in calcium, iron, and folic acid, among other nutrients. WIC serves just over 5,300 women, infants, and children in Jackson County. That comes to about 3,400 families. We remain open for business, and we are encouraging our participants to keep their appointments. Many of the families that we serve at WIC, they do depend on WIC and SNAP to feed their families. While we at WIC supplement the diets of our participants with healthy foods, we do not provide all the foods that a person or a family may need. WIC and SNAP, when used together, these programs ensure that infants and toddlers get the nutrition they need to grow, and it ensures that families can put food on the table during really tough times. When SNAP benefits are delayed or reduced, many families have fewer dollars to spend at the grocery store, and this puts immense pressure on the families that are supported by WIC. WIC and SNAP together cover the full picture of food and nutrition that families need, and sustaining both programs ensures that no family falls through the cracks. This week, actually, even today, we've spoken with several WIC families that have been impacted by the lapse of SNAP, and the stress and the pressure that these families are under is real. Families are making hard choices about how to feed their newborns and their young children. WIC is funded each year by Congress, and at this time, USDA has provided additional funding to WIC, which enables us to operate during the shutdown and into November. While any effort to keep WIC operational during the shutdown is welcome, WIC needs full year funding and not just temporary lifelines. Communities stay healthier and stronger with programs like WIC and SNAP. As I mentioned before, WIC remains open, and I would encourage anyone who is interested in WIC to reach out to us. They can text us at 541-774-8203, or they can visit our website and fill out our interest form at jacksoncountyor.gov/WIC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Autumn. And for our last speaker of the evening, and we'll get into some questions, we have Scott Perry with the Medford Food Project. Scott.
Thank you, Allison. It is indeed a pleasure to be on this webcast with such bright and dedicated people. I've been very impressed with so many of you over time. I'm here to talk about the Neighborhood Food Project. I have been involved with the Medford Food Project, which is one of several neighborhood food projects in Southern Oregon. The concept originated in Southern Oregon, in Ashland, in 2009, and it's very powerful. It's just one piece, but I think it's a very bright spot in the picture of food security in our region. The neighborhood food projects are now in 50 communities in 11 states, including numerous Oregon communities, and the reason is because they work. The concept is simple. It's something that doesn't depend on state or federal funding. The concept is neighbors feeding neighbors, and we build community in the process. And many of you have heard of the Medford Food Project or the neighborhood food projects, or maybe you're part of it already. Some people refer to it as the Green Bag Project because we have these green bags. What we do is we go to our neighbors and we ask them to put non-perishable food in a green bag. And then every 2 months, second Saturday of every other month, we go around and collect those green bags full of food, and we take them to a common area. In Medford, that is access. They allow us to use their parking area, and they provide us a lot of support. We bring this food to the central area, and then the 12 pantries that we serve are there collecting the food, taking it out of the cars as people drive up. They sort it and put it into large banana boxes. Then at the end of the day, every pantry takes back an equal share of food. Medford Food Project is just one of 5 projects in Jackson County. We have the Ashland Food Project, where the project originated, Medford Food Project, Talent, Phoenix, and Eagle Point each have food projects. And there's also a food project in Grants Pass in Josephine County. Just in Jackson County, we're collecting approximately 435,000 pounds of food per year with these 5 projects in Jackson County. That means that's about 30,000 pounds of food per pickup each in Medford and Ashland, and 3,000 to 4,000 in each of the other 3 areas. It's all volunteer operated. Medford has 155 neighborhood coordinators. Those are the folks that go around to their neighbors and collect the food. And we have 2,310 donors. We believe this is the largest volunteer organization in Southern Oregon. I believe that we are nowhere near reaching our potential in terms of donors. And so one of my asks is I'd like to encourage you to get the word out for people to join this important project. Sign up to be donors, especially we could use if people sign up to be neighborhood coordinators, because those are vital to making the program operate. The thing that I think is most powerful here is that this is a sustainable method of assisting to bolster food resources for our food pantries. It's not just one food drive, but it happens like clockwork every 2 months. I am privileged to be part of it, and again, I encourage you to encourage others to join it and be part of it, because I think it is an important part of the solution here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Ooh, wow, what an incredible body of work that we have represented, and also with all of you out there. We're going to open it up and spend the next 10 or so minutes taking questions for our panelists or general questions from the audience. So if you wanted to go ahead, you can either raise your hand and I can bring you up live, or you can drop a question in the chat. We have been answering some questions along the way. As we wait for a couple of hands, I see a couple. I am going to drop in a resource list that we've been putting together over the next week. It is a living document that we're asking people to contribute to. So if you don't see your thing on there, please add it. And we're going to go into questions. I see Teresa Cisneros. You are now able to talk, and if you wanted to come off your camera, that we would love to see you too. If not, that's okay, but welcome.
Hi, thanks. I appreciate it. I actually don't have an option to turn my camera on. I don't know why, but anyways, I have 2 questions. Question is there any discussion or planning at all for the population, which after my research, I'm realizing is a significant population of families that don't qualify for SNAP because of immigration status. So is there a discussion about that? And then the other for Scott, is there, do you all have a Spanish speaking program as well as all this is happening there? And how is that sharing happening within the low income communities intersecting with the middle to higher income communities? How is that food connecting?
Scott, why don't we go ahead and have you answer that? And if one of our panelists wants to address how your program's addressing the folks who are falling through the cracks because of immigration status, please raise your hand or send me a chat.
Sure. One element of confusion that people often have is that when they hear about the Medford Food Project, they have the sense that the Medford Food Project is collecting food and then giving it directly to families. What we're doing is we're collecting food and then delivering that food to the pantries. And each pantry then uses their operational procedures to distribute that food to folks. And so in terms of which populations receive the food from the Medford Food Project versus populations that don't, we don't really control that because that food goes to the pantries, and then we trust that the pantries will distribute that as best they can. We do have, and I just know this from experience as a neighborhood coordinator and a district coordinator, we do have many Hispanic families and others that are donors that are participating, and or that are neighborhood coordinators and are participating in the project.
Mhm. Great. Thank you so much for clarifying. You're making me realize that part of the reason that I asked about the migrant programs is because it's also not a safe place right now for brown-bodied people to be attending or going to any of these food banks. And when you explained your program, I thought, what a wonderful resource for discreet and safe food distribution. So that's where my questions came from. So thank you for clarifying, and I hope that we can have that discussion about how to address the holes that we have.
Thank you, Teresa. And then we're going to have Tanya and Josephine speak to the other question.
So for Rogue Foodie Nights, all of our programs are free farmers market. The idea of these are for them to be no cost, no barrier. So we're not asking for any qualifications, for any personal information. So anyone and everyone's welcome to our markets. And if there's ever any fear around immigration or really any fear at all regarding the status of our patrons, we do have a disaster case management card line where they're able to reach out, and I could share it with you, Allison, or I could put it on the chat. Yeah. And then we ask that this phone number shared with them and they could reach out to us, and then we're able to talk about other resources or how we can support.
Great. Josephine.
So first off, Teresa, thank you so much for raising a really important question. I am going to effectively parrot Tanya. Our network of food assistance sites is open and available for anyone who needs it. That is a core part of our food system. Resources are available for everyone. We don't ask for ID. We don't ask for any specific verifying information. We ask that everything is self-verified. So this is a space that we are hoping to welcome absolutely everyone to. However, we also understand that this is a very specific point in time, and there are communities that are at higher risk than others. And so we encourage people to please call us directly, and we can connect you with some more specific resources if you don't feel comfortable going to our available network.
Thank you so much. There are some questions that are being answered in the chat if anybody wants to check there, and we have time. We're going to pull up Nicole Schultz works with David. Is this on the issue, the finishing the conversation around SNAP benefits for all?
Yes, and it
Great,
connects
go
to
ahead.
our school
Nicole,
program.
we'll come back to you. Yeah.
I'll just say, one of the resources that continues to exist in Southern Oregon and across the state, nearly every public school in the state offers no-cost breakfast and lunch programs. One of the things we love about that is that no one's asked who needs food or why they need food. They simply receive it. Just to jump onto the second question in there, we know that there won't be any impact to these programs based on the federal government shutdown for the foreseeable future. So that's a safe resource for the coming months.
Thanks, David. Nicole, come on up. We can hear you now.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, thank you for this incredible work and this wealth of information. I just wanted to add on that the Rogue Valley Growers and Crafters Market, while fundraising, has also released discretionary funds to offer a $10 SNAP boost to anyone that comes to the market, regardless of benefits balance. In addition to that double up food bucks and protein match, this SNAP boost, because of compliance with SNAP, we're calling it emergency market money. And one of the biggest takeaways for our organization from the Rogue Valley Food System Network Food Summit in January was that a lot of people in our community, the most vulnerable, don't have access for a way to heat food even. Some of them don't have microwaves, or they're living in a hotel. So we've extended, because this is money that we're releasing from our funding, we've extended it to also cover hot meals at our market. So that's available, and our goal is to sustain that for as long as possible, but it will be somewhat funding dependent. But we're rolling that out in addition to a free food pantry at the markets. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then my question was also, can someone confirm the hours? I heard there were extended food pantry hours at the YMCA, and I really want to make sure to share that with our patrons tomorrow. That's the YMCA in Ashland, and I heard that that was maybe happening, I believe, in the evening hours. Did I hear that correctly?
Josephine, go ahead.
So that is actually the YMCA here in Grants Pass. Our organization, the Josephine County Food Bank, will be doing an additional distribution from 6 to 7:30 Tuesday nights at the YMCA in Grants Pass in their parking lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are going to take one question because I'm wondering if anybody has any insight. Are there any direct supports being provided to community meals like Hawthorne Park, Potluck, Judy's Midnight Diner, Peace Meals, or others? They have seen an increase in the need in the last year, along with a dramatic increase in the last week. Does anybody know of any resources going to those hot meal providers? Looks like Ann Carter's typing an answer. I have seen community showing up in astounding ways, with more folks showing up to cook and serve meals, donations coming from everywhere, both in food and funding. And I think we'll continue to see that. I think this is one of those moments in time where we leverage the awareness that is happening to ground the truth of we have had a perennial hunger issue in Jackson and Josephine County for a long time. So this isn't just a new happening. We are having a newfound interest. A lot of people are interested in learning more and engaging. So how do we leverage that? We are just a few minutes from the hour. We will go ahead and honor folks' time. Chrissy asks, so I'm going to bring your attention to the link that I dropped in earlier. This is a resource, a public copy of an Ensure Access resource guide that we're looking to make sure that we can capture as many local resources as possible. So again, there's a lot of great websites. Access keeps their pantry list up to date. Josephine County Food Bank keeps their pantry list up to date. ODHS has a great list, 211.org. If you have others that are these hot meal preparing that are not frequented on these lists, please go ahead and drop them in. We also have a couple of other here is a statement that the Ensure Access to Local Food Group on behalf of Rogue Valley Food System Network has put together recently. If you want to learn more about the work of the Rogue Valley Food System Network and get involved, we would love to have you join one of our working groups. This press conference came out of the Ensure Access to Healthy Food for All working group. You can also learn more about the Rogue Valley Good Food Fund and exactly what that's going to. It will go to support the local farmers, produce and proteins getting into the food banks directly. So as we close, reminding us all, and we all know this, hunger is not inevitable. It's a symptom of the systems that we do have the power to change. I truly believe that. It helps me get up every morning. We have enough food in the Rogue Valley to feed everyone. What we need is continued coordination, compassion, and commitment to move that food where it's needed most. So to our partners here, both on the panel and in the audience, thank you for showing what's possible when we act together. To the community, thank you for helping tell this story of resilience and creativity and care. May we remember this in our being as this man-made crisis passes and into the next one, as we work together to address the perennial state of hunger in this valley. And finally, I do invite you personally, everyone on this call, to join us at the Rogue Valley Food Solutions Summit on January 15th and 16th, where we will continue the work of addressing root causes of hunger and building a stronger, more resilient food system together. It's the only way through. Thank you so much for your time. I have left in that ensure access. You can connect with every one of our panelists. I left their emails in there. My email is Allison, 1L, ALISON at rvfoodsystem.org. I'm happy to put you in contact with any of our panelists or any other resources. Thank you all for joining tonight. Go have a meal with someone you love and invite someone to the table. Thank you.